Good evening. This is your evening briefing for Monday, the 13th of April 2026. Today's briefing spans fast-moving developments in the Middle East, a worsening displacement crisis in Sudan, a global economic outlook, and several Australian police safety and emergency updates. Leading the briefing, the US. Military says it will blockade all Iranian ports and coastal areas after ceasefire talks failed, while saying ships between non-Iranian ports will still be allowed to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. The move comes as early reports say ship traffic in the strait appears to have halted, with more than 40 commercial vessels crossing since the ceasefire, compared with roughly 100 to 135 passengers a day before the war. Also in the briefing, Israeli strikes hit central Beirut, killing at least 182 people and wounding hundreds in what Lebanon says is the deadliest day in the latest Israel-Hezbollah war. The attacks came hours after a ceasefire was announced in the US-Israeli war with Iran. Even as Israel said the truce does not extend to Lebanon, and its military said it struck more than 100 Hezbollah targets within 10 minutes. Meanwhile, UNHCR says Sudan's war has displaced 14 million people since fighting began in April 2023, as the conflict enters its fourth year. The agency says 9 million people remain displaced inside Sudan and 4.4 million have fled across international borders, with violence still driving new displacement in Darfur, the Kordofans, and Blue Nile State. In other developments, economists and policymakers from about 190 countries are gathering in Washington for World Bank and International Monetary Fund meetings, alongside a global economy summit drawing 400 CEOs and thought leaders. Gallup projects that world GDP, which the IMF says reached $120 trillion in 2025, could grow to about $220 trillion by 2050, with the US now accounting for roughly 26% of global nominal GDP. Elsewhere, the global Sumud flotilla is scheduled to launch a civilian mission to Gaza on April 12, 2026, with more than 70 boats and 3,000 participants from 100 countries. The mission also includes a medical fleet of 1,000 healthcare professionals, while Amnesty International is calling for safe passage and citing Gaza's worsening humanitarian crisis and the ongoing blockade. Also today, New South Wales Environment Protection Authority has fined Dial-A-Dump $30,000 after finding a licence breach at its Eastern Creek recycling facility. Inspectors reported dust emissions from a conveyor belt system and a build-up of dust and debris, and the company has also been ordered to carry out clean-up measures. Separately, Victoria Police has opened a new Incident Police Operations Centre in Bairnsdale to help coordinate responses to major emergencies across East Gippsland. The facility is built to support bushfires, floods, large-scale searches and critical incidents, and can bring together up to 60 personnel along with other emergency services. In other news, Australian Defence Force personnel took part in Exercise Freedom Shield 26 in South Korea, serving alongside the United Nations Command in a command post exercise. Defence says the drill was designed to strengthen defensive capabilities and readiness while supporting stability on the Korean peninsula. Turning to another story, New South Wales Police have released CCTV footage as they investigate a suspicious house fire in Dubbo that destroyed a vacant home on Websdale Drive. Detectives are trying to identify two people seen nearby after the fire, and police say no one was hurt and no neighbouring properties were damaged. And finally, Queensland Police are asking for help after a reported robbery at a home in Springfield Lakes involving two men armed with knives. Police say the pair threatened a 62-year-old woman, took several items and fled on foot, while the victim was not physically injured. That is your evening briefing.